All right, let's get down to the New York Stock Exchange and check in with Jim Cramer. Jim, a lot of things happening this morning. These headlines continue to come in on Russia and Ukraine. You've got a lot of Fed speak that's out today. You've got the expiration of some contracts on a Friday as we head into a three-day weekend. Which of these is going to be the most important thing?
Well, I still think Ukraine is incredibly important. Your guest earlier that wrote the Washington Post piece just really kind of laid it out in a very dispassionate way. I think that was terrific. I mean, yes, this could be really bad. But at the same time, I can tell you, my friend John Ellis is going back and forth. He's got this great note that comes out every morning that, look, there's going to be sanctions. It's not going to be good for Russia. The sanctions are going to hurt initially. So, I mean, I think that there's more risk than we think for Russia. And if that's the case, then maybe this thing's going to be ameliorated. But I understand, totally tough to buy ahead of this, just totally tough. And you really have to have a longer-term view, not this long-term view as Scott Wapner's guest yesterday, Kathy Wood. But you have to accept the fact that you might lose some money. I'd say it's like almost 50-50 that you lose money if you buy. That's not such a great ratio.
No. Some comments out from the German foreign minister have been pretty tough just in the last few minutes or so, saying that, look, all options are on the table, that Germany is ready to pay a high economic price for this unprecedented sanctions on Russia. Everything's on the table, including Nord Stream 2, regarding those potential sanctions. And I think maybe that's more important than headlines coming out of the United States, because there have been questions about the resolve of the Europeans, particularly the Germans, who would suffer the most from this.
Boy, that
in
is
terms
such
of an
a great
economic
point.
idea.
I've been waiting for that, Becky, because we keep yapping, but what matters is are the Germans on board with us? And if the Germans are willing to pay the economic price, then the Russians really have to rethink their game plan, because there was a sense that the Germans couldn't take it. Now, obviously, when Merkel, this happens, we don't talk enough about how Angela Merkel, I mean, East German, good relationship with Russia. So she retires, new guy comes in, and we have no idea what they're doing. So maybe there's hope that if he really joins what Biden's doing, that the Russians recognize there's risk. Right now, it doesn't seem like the Russians think there's any risk to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, Ukraine's broke. I mean, it's not like they're getting a real prize. So I just think that it's 50-50 to buy today. And what tips the scales, what Steve Leisman was talking about, which is who's the last person from the Fed who speaks. Like, let's say Bullard decides to speak on XM radio today at 3 o'clock. And he says, you know what? I really see these numbers, and I can't believe how behind the curve we are. Well, you'll feel like a total dope if you bought.
Yeah, he was speaking yesterday at a conference. It's the same thing he's been saying for a week now, but every time he says it, it does spook the market.
I mean, look, you can't get masking tape and tape him. You can't just tape like his mouth, I mean, he's like a really good guy.
Like to. Right.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, so you can't just say, listen, I'm sticking a handkerchief in your mouth and I'm taping it, and that's it. That does not happen. Right. He has freedom of speech. Plus, he's a great guy.
And he's speaking the truth as he sees it on these issues, too.
I know, he's a great guy. And so he's I mean, look, if he were here right now and he said what he's been saying, we would drop very quickly, we'd drop 1%. And I really admire his conviction, and he's got a really good outlook about what has to happen. But every time he says it, Becky, we end up getting clubbed.
Well, we will see what happens on this Friday. Jim, we'll be watching you starting in just a few minutes.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend.